Hi, I'm Jim Bergeron, pastor of Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Houston, Texas. This is the sermon for the 17th Sunday of Pentecost, September 15th, 2024, based on Mark 8, beginning with the 27th verse. Mark is a book of questions. Jesus is always asked leading questions to trip him up and discredit him. Disciples ask questions because they're confused. Jesus asks questions to counter rabbinical interrogations, and Jesus poses questions to teach and clarify things for his followers. In terms of brand management, in terms of future expectations, where the questions are asked is also very important. For example, where did you propose a lifelong commitment to your better 7/8? Calling a person a better half just doesn't give them near enough credit. Was it on the concrete apron of the Harley shop while you were installing a new S&S carburetor? Or was it while dining formally? You will always remember that moment, and so will your partner. So, where you pop the big question has considerable import. Jesus pops a big question to his disciples at Caesarea Philippi. Who do you say that I am? This is a driving question of the Gospels. It's the most important question of human history, I think, according to the Orthodox religious practices. Asking this question in this place, Caesarea Philippi, is kind of a public relations nightmare. You see, all the best brands are there. Managing the small but growing Jesus brand is going to be very difficult, if not impossible. Too much high power competition. Overlooking the city is the temple built to Caesar, who claimed to be God. Competing with him are large worship centers of the Phoenician god Baal and the Greek god Pan. Everywhere you look, there were monuments to pagan gods. One cave in the area was supposedly the entrance to the underworld and a place where you would sacrifice pigs and then go on tours subterraneanly. The disciples were devout Jews. Opulent, rich, and seriously unclean Caesarea Philippi would make them nervous. They're on the spot when Jesus asks, "Who do people say that I am?" They, of course, want him to win the day. They want to be his public relations team with the best spin. They want him to make the best impression and become popular. See, the apostle business was kind of tricky, but Jesus wasn't really interested in highly competitive public relations spin doctrine. The disciples were in a position to pool their resources and clear a path, maybe with swords, at least with shekels, to the highest office. But Jesus kept saying, just relax. Just be a disciple. Servanthood is the king of all. Take up your cross and hang with me. Trust God. Disciples were more interested, really, in reforming, revolting, smashing sin. And he kept telling them, smashing can lead to sin. If you want to fight, well, okay, it won't change anything. Because if you fight them, you join them. See, to have a good fight, you have to share tactical rules of engagement. You know, no hitting below the belt, no poking out eyes, no biting ears. It takes two to tango. Here's a thought. If you want to change your enemies and all those other bad sinners that annoy you, forgive them. Now, Jesus says, who am I to you? Peter says, you're the Christ, the anointed one, the Messiah. And the implication is that all of the sacrifices of the believers will then accrue to Jesus, the best God in town. For those sacrifices offered, he'll destroy all the other gods and their Gentile pagan believers and restore the Jewish nation bring peace and power and prosperity to Israel. Jump those wish dreams 20 centuries into the future, and you have a caricature. If Jesus were to appear today, well, he'd have to do a PR tour to manage his brand. Maybe a book and a film, uh, and maybe a prequel after the sequel to show how it all started. Lots of autographs. Perhaps a spot on Dancing with the Stars, or a big sweep for female disciples with a cameo on The Bachelor. Form a rock group, call them the Apostle Z. He'd need to do a video and get it into heavy rotation in the media. All the work will be, and planning will be worth it when the YouTube likes pour in. Amen. Just saw JC and the Apostle Z. Awesome, dude. Played 3 hours. Gave out free bread and wine and sushi. The encore was a transfiguration number. He hologrammed past saints on the stage. 2 Jims, Hendrix and Morrison. 2 buddies, Holly and Rich. 3 Johns, Bach and Lennon and Winter. Hank was there with Paganini and Janis. 2 Georges, Harrison and Handel. For this all-star jam, a 30-minute cover of Stairway to Freebird. Everybody wanted to hang with Jesus, a hard rock winner, not a rejected stoner. Trouble is, in the world of me first conquest and empire, Jesus looks soft, a rejected cornerstone loser, right up to sunrise on Sunday morning, Easter. He told them about suffering, rejection, and death on the cross, and after 3 days being raised from the dead. That's really not a brand that most people want to wait in line for to buy tickets. Jesus tells his best friend, you don't have to sacrifice to me like they do to all the gods here in Caesarea Philippi. I am the sacrifice for you. The rejection already starts. In the inner circle, Peter rejects that idea promptly and rebukes the anointed one of God. Jesus replies matter-of-factly, get behind me, Satan. You're not on the side of God but of men. Which very simply means, back me up here. Don't be an enemy or an obstructionist. My brand bears no relationship to, is not in competition with Caesar or Baal or Pan or Barney or Ronald McDonald. Cheap gods. Jesus expects a low profile. More lives be saved by living authentic lives under the radar of the rich and powerful and famous who are compromised by their visibility. We're here to promote God, not ourselves. So we try to answer the big question that Jesus asked, who do you say that I am? Mark's gospel is direct. Don't kid yourself. Because Jesus is 100% human and 100% God, he has to suffer. He had to experience mortality, which is something none of us really appreciate on the bad days. If Jesus is the Son of God, we are with him in his kingdom, we should all get executive privilege, right? Wrong. Peter thought maybe he'd signed up for something else. It's kind of like the lady that was getting into shape. She was running 5 miles every day. And she entered a local 10K race, a little over 6 miles. For the fun of it, felt like she could do okay. She ran the first 5 miles feeling really good, but wondering, where is the turnaround point on this race? So she asked a fellow runner, where's the turnaround for the race? He said, 8 miles ahead. This is the Cleveland Marathon, lady. The 10K is just now at the starting line. Well, she went ahead and finished the marathon, a distance she'd never run before, and that was pretty impressive. She said that she thought as she was running, this is not the race I trained for. This is not the race I entered, but this is the race I am in. When Jesus says, take up your cross and hang with me, Peter's naturally afraid for his life. Can't blame him. Human will moves towards safety and comfort. God's will covers every contingency. God's will is part of every peaceful and painful present. Peter's trying. He occasionally obstructs as he learns to get with Jesus' program, but he is not ever rejected. Hey, if it's worth doing poorly at first. None of us at our first attempt at walking said, well, that's that. I look really stupid falling on my squishy diaper, and I won't try that ever again. You got to crash that bicycle to figure out how to ride it. When self-preservation is our central aim, we're never safe. When we're committed to surrender to the disturbances that compassionate living raises, we're never in danger. Through the suffering, rejection, death, and resurrection of Jesus, the anointed Messiah of God, we're given ultimate permission to live and thrive. I'm tremendously thankful that I have the privilege of being part of a Christ-centered world and worship. The answer to the big question is clear. The Herod brand is narrowing and harrowing. Hanging with Jesus is freedom. Amen.